The Promised Neverland. I don't think there's ever been a story that equal parts terrified me and captivated me, all within its very first episode. This series does a fantastic job of creating a terrifying world wrapped in mystery with lovable characters you just can't help but root for. Also, Isabella, one of the most underrated villains in all of anime, in my humble opinion. Now, there is a half-rotten elephant that we need to address, and that is, of course, Season 2, which I refuse to acknowledge beyond this point, so the series is great again. This was actually one of the few anime that convinced me to read the manga. Typically, I don't delve into the manga. If I like anime, I'm typically pretty satisfied. But this one, when Season 1 ended, I just had to figure out what happened. So that is why I wanted to try and explain the biology of the demons. Spoilers, I guess? From the Promised Neverland. As with all my videos, massive spoilers ahead, so please, go watch and read this story. It is truly a blast to experience blind. I'm your host Orion, and without further ado, let's delve right into the biology. As with any discussion, let's establish what we know. It's known that the demons raise humans on farms and consume their flesh, the wealthiest amongst them getting the privilege of eating their brains. Children are kept under 12 before they are shipped out to most plants. The reason why, as I recall, is never fully explained, but I'll discuss possibilities later. Another fact that the series establishes is that demons lose their human characteristics if they can't eat humans for a while. It is theorized by Norman when he returns that they were little more than bacteria that underwent radical evolution as their diets progressed from simple to complex organisms. Now, to be fair, this is not macroevolution as many scientists purport nowadays, which has its own fair share of problems that I won't tackle in this video. But rather, the demons accumulate genes by consumption rather than fitness. Consumption rather than fitness. Huh. Now where have I heard that before? Anyways, let's talk about how they may be capable of performing such a feat. The acquisition of new genes by consumption is not actually a new concept to my channel. In fact, it's very similar to the process of phagogenesis that Chimera Ant Queen performs in Hunter x Hunter. The main difference is that she doesn't acquire the genes, but rather her offspring does, which actually severely complicates the process. So I don't end up making the same video twice. I'm going to briefly summarize my Hunter x Hunter video, in which I hypothesized that the queen was able to acquire new genes from organisms using an enzyme known as reverse transcriptase. This enzyme would take strands of mRNA and convert them into complementary strands of DNA that the queen would then incorporate into the genome of her offspring. And if you know your biology, you know that DNA goes to RNA and then RNA to protein. And in this case with reverse transcriptase, it takes RNA and reverses the process back into DNA, which then can be incorporated into a genome. I hypothesize. If this topic has piqued your interest, I would like to recommend my own video, my Hunter x Hunter video found on my channel. It's currently the best performing on it. Though, enough shameless self-promotion, back to the topic at hand. So if we hypothesize that demons acquire their genes through this reverse transcriptase process, then what's the problem? Does that answer the question? Not exactly. The main difference is that while the queen from the chimera ants can simply incorporate the genes into her developing offspring, which would then allow for the entire organism to retain the genes within its fully developed body, demons don't have that simple of an answer. That's because rather than passing genes onto their offspring, the demons incorporate the genes of the organism they consumed into their own body, which is already fully developed. Which raises the question, how do they distribute their new genes throughout their body? Now, a fascinating detail about demons is the fact that they retain a core behind their mask, a core which, if destroyed, kills the demon. So, what exactly is this core? If you recall, demons were, and still in part, simple bacteria that consume other organisms to enhance their own biology. So my hypothesis is that this core is that original bacteria that is actively dividing and distributing its cells throughout the body. In essence, think of this core as the center of all cellular division within the demon. And unlike in humans where we have cells that develop in specialized locations and can differentiate from stem cells into their specialized jobs, demons can only produce their basic bacterial-like cells without genes acquired through consumption. Let me put it this way. The core is where the original demon resides. It takes in new genes through consumption and the reverse transcriptase process mentioned earlier. From there, these newly specialized cells with the acquired genes from their meals slowly spread from the core to the rest of the body. This would explain how they adapt to their meals, gaining a bipedal body with human intelligence. Additionally, since their core can only produce the basic demon cells with the demon genome, that would explain why they need to continue to eat humans to maintain their higher faculties, since the cellular reproduction isn't performed on cells with newly acquired genes, but rather the original demon cells. Thus, the demon body would slowly replace cells, and if they can't get human genes, those human cells would have died and be replaced by regular demon cells, without the genes required to maintain sentience or would it be sapience? So, to summarize my hypothesis, the demons consume an organism, then the genes are extracted via the reverse transcriptase process. With the genes acquired, the core incorporates these new genes into the newly dividing cells that then migrate throughout the body, incapable of reproducing since that occurs at the core. Now, I realize that demons have accelerated healing, which unfortunately is simply physically impossible, especially at the speeds we see them performing at. Sorry, I can't really explain everything. Anyways, before I wrap up this video, there's a couple of ideas I want to postulate. Firstly, why children are harvested before 12. I got a couple of ideas, the first being practicality. Teenagers and adults are much harder to keep wrangled and are more physically capable, so harvesting young makes it easier to keep organized. Another thing is that they could simply not like the taste of the brain undergoing puberty. The hormone influx could be rather distasteful, much like a great plate of spaghetti, only to be ruined with ketchup rather than homemade tomato sauce. My second reason is more of a fun theory that I don't take too seriously, but there's simply too many connections to ignore. And that is that the children in the Promised Neverland are raised to become proficient in the unconscious use of Nen in order to heighten their flavor. Now Nen, if you're familiar with it, is the magic system that takes place in the world of Hunter x Hunter. So yes, this theory postulates that the world of Hunter x Hunter and the world of the Promised Neverland occur in the same universe. If you think about it, chimera ants and demons are not too different from each other, not to mention the way the worlds of Hunter x Hunter and the Promised Neverland operate. In Hunter x Hunter, you have the human world separated from the Dark Continent, kept secret by all, and the entrance guarded by a gate guardian. And if you read the Promised Neverland manga, it doesn't sound too different from the one making a pact with the humans to separate the human and the demon worlds. Now does it? Additionally, it's established in Hunter x Hunter that humans that can use Nen are especially delicious, and that humans can use Nen unconsciously, Komugi being a prime example. So what if demons are an offshoot of the chimera ants that farm humans and raise them on the Dark Continent to be exceptionally intelligent in order to make them use Nen unconsciously, thus enhancing their flavor, but keeping them easy to maintain? The chimera ant queen Meruem himself even suggested using farms for humans. So... Now I know this isn't real, or canon, or any of that nonsense. I just found too many similarities between their worlds for me not to postulate this theory. So what are your thoughts? Is there more to demon biology I'm not aware of? Something established in the manga that I forgot? What about the worlds of Hunter x Hunter and the Promised Neverland being connected? Any credence to my theory, or am I just a few plums short of a plum pudding? Leave your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear them. In the meantime, let's just see how unkillable this teacher really is. Take care, everyone, and God bless.